Morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Grade 11s, let me welcome you to MedZone African Motives, where I want us to look at a business that is grade 11, term 1. So that is term 1, where we are going to mainly look at the influence on business environments. Influence on business environments. So, grade 11s, let us be together from the start of this presentation and to the end of it. So, under this topic, we are going to look at the micro environment, which it says business control factors in the micro environment. But on unit 2, we'll be looking at the market environment, where we know very well that business control factors in the market environment is very limited. And the unit 3 is macro environment, where we know very well that the business has no control over the macro environment. So let's quickly go to our business of today, which starts here, unit 1. Unit 1, the micro environment. The micro environment. That when you talk of micro means small. Micro means small. So, in business, micro refers to factors that are within the control of organization. Micro means a factors that are within the control of the organization, such as company policies, employees, and resources. So that's what it is. Like it says, the microenvironment is what happens within a company, as well as the activities of everyone involved in the business. The microenvironment also shows how the effect of business abilities to serve its customers. So the aspects of the microenvironment include. So what it means before we can talk about the aspects that are included in the microenvironment. What exactly means when you're talking about a microenvironment? We are talking about it consists of controllable variables. It consists of controllable. It consists of controllable variables. It consists of controllable variables which exist inside the company. Which exist inside the company. So that's when we're talking about what? The micro environment. That's when we're talking about the micro environment. So here are the aspects that are included in the micro environment. The ones that we said the manager or the entrepreneur can control them. That is a company vision and mission. Company vision and mission. So on top of the company vision and mission, that is the vision and mission statement that define the company's purpose, values, overall direction. So they guide decision making and resource allocation. Like it says, the company's vision and mission include the reason for the organization was started and what needs to be achieved and in what environment it will operate. That is that. Either can be local, regional, national, or international. Also, the target markets or market segments and set of values employees and consumers to identify with. So that is the company mission, vision, statement. So they define the company's purpose. They define what? Company purpose. They define company's purpose. They define company's purpose, values, and overall direction. And overall direction. So that's what it means when you're talking about the company vision and mission. So also another aspect that is included in the microenvironment is objectives and goals. Objectives and goals. So when you're talking about objectives and goals, you would say they should be specific, measurable targets that the company aims to achieve. These are derived from mission and mission. So those objectives and goals derived from vision and mission statement of the company. Like it says, all the business share the objectives of making a profit. So the objectives and goals state whether the business will manufacture or sell or provide a service. The business must also think about specific targets it wants to reach over what period of time, and these targets will be reached. So, like I've said, that there should be what the measurable targets that the company aims to achieve. That should be the goal. So, also we have said this derived from the mission and vision statements that we have just talked about. So, moving on to another aspect that is included in the microenvironment is management structure. Management structure. So when we're talking about the management structure, we're talking about the organizational structure. We're talking about what? The organizational structure, including leadership, departments, communication channels. And this affects how decisions are made and implemented. This affects how decisions are made and implemented. Like it says, management structure includes the reporting lines. Who is responsible for each function of the business? So this is often referred to as an organogram. The following are 8 business functions. Most organizations are divided into. So we are given what one of the first function that we're given is the purchasing function. So we know very well when you're talking about the purchasing function, this department acquires goods, materials, services needed for operations. So another function is the production function. With production function, this is a department which creates goods or services from manufacturing, processing, or delivery. Then the marketing function, this one identifies customers' needs, promotes products and manages sales, including budgeting, accounting, and funding. Not that, but manages sales. So that is that. So finance department is the one that is going to make sure that they manages financial resources, including budgeting, accounting, and funding. So because I did mention finance with marketing. Human resources. These ones are responsible for recruiting, trains, and develops employees and handles employee relations. Now, public relations, they manage companies' image and relationship with stakeholders. Administration, all they do is to provide support and service, including the clerical, IT, facilities management, and the executive management. All they do is to set overall strategy, directs operations, and makes key decisions. So that is that these are the functions that you're talking about. That these are the functions that we are talking about. And remember that with these departments that we're talking about, if you can see that they cannot, oh, that there is no way these departments can function without one another. For example, if a new machinery has to be purchased, the financial position of the company has to be examined. In this way, all the company's functions link together as a unit, striving for a common goal. So that is that. Now let us move on to resources as one of the aspects of the microenvironment. Resources include finances, buildings, machinery, as well as a skilled or qualified labor force. Those are the resources of the business. So it must also be clear that the resources will be found and how capital for funding business activities will be raised. So that is that. So let us move on. Now we are coming to organizational ethos. Organizational ethos is one of the aspects of the micro environment. So the ethos or character of the organization include the style of management, decision making, and internal as well as external communication, transparency and inclusivity without giving away sensitive or competitive advantage information is important. So these elements are driven by managers and affect customers as well as employees. That is that. Now we come to the business control. Business control factors in the micro environment. Business control in the micro environment. And we know that management has control over the variables in the micro environment. That only know very well that management is control over the variables in the microenvironment. In the microenvironment, like we have said in the starting of our presentation. So they said control over the internal environment must be entrepreneur, owner, or management level. So they're the ones with control over the variables in the microenvironment. So the leadership of the organization must control the process of initiative, starting the business, setting the goals, providing the direction within the organization. So you see that is always saying the management is control over these variables. So control is about bringing together the 8 business functions mentioned previously, like when we're talking about purchasing, marketing, financing, public relations, administration, those functions are the ones that enables management to set goals or provide what the direction, so that the organization can reach its goals and make a profit. So this is all about micro environment. Now we're coming to unit 2. In unit 2, we are talking about the market environment. We are talking about the market environment. And when you're talking about a market environment, it is found externally. It's found external. That is an external market. It's external and is found directly outside the company. This one directly outside the company. It is found directly outside the company, meaning it is not internal. It is external, but it is found directly outside the company. What are you talking about? The market environment. So, like I said, the market environment is a specific industrial product range or geographical region of market segment. So, the aspects that are found under the market environment are the following: customers and market segments. Customers and market segments. So, like it says, consumers buy and use the product or services of the business. So, these consumers are usually classified as a market segment or target market consumers. So, they are directly external because they are the ones who are going to buy from the business. So, we know very well with this market environment, the business is what? A limited control. So with market environment, the business what? It is what? A limited control. There's a limited control. They can only do what? They can only influence what? The customers, the competitors, the suppliers. Unlike in the micro environment where the business is a full control. So hope we are together on that. So then he talks about competition. In a free market economy, there are usual competitors who target the same customers or market segment. So products or services may be the same, similar, or provide an alternative to that of the business. Even the consumers want their choice. That's when you're talking about what? The consumers, competitors is one of the aspect in the market environment. A business can respond to competitors by improving their products or offering better customer experiences. That's what you can say. Business can respond to competitors by improving their products or offering better services. So that is that. That's how they can try by always to influence the customers, because they cannot have full control on those customers to come and buy from their organization. So improving their products can influence the customers. So now moving on to another aspect in the market environment is strategic partners and stakeholders. Yes, it is relationship with suppliers, manufacturers, and special service providers can give the business an advantage over the competition. So if we have a good and healthy relationship with other stakeholders, that can give you what? A good advantage. So the secret lies partnering where both parties benefit. So ethics and good control must be at the heart of this relationship so that the relationship can keep on going. So that is a strategic partners and stakeholders. Have a good relationship with suppliers, have a good relationship with customers, have a good relationship with investors. This will give a business what? A competitive advantage. So let us move on to regulatory framework. A regulatory framework. So regulatory framework, as it says, regulation may come from the food industry, controlling bodies, or government and specific laws. Business can also join or subscribe to association and follow their guidelines, rules, and principles. These organizations are usually industrial or profession-based. For example, the Law Society of South Africa or Black Management Forum. So when we talk of the regulatory, how the business is going to have an influence. So business can influence regulators by complying with the rules and sometimes suggesting changes through industry associations. That is how they can have influence. Remember, we have said the market environment. They only influence, they only influence, they have a limited control. So how are they going to, how is the business going to influence? We are saying the business can influence regulators by complying with rules and sometimes they sometimes suggesting changes through industry association, through industry associations. Associations. So that is how they can have an influence. Now we come to organized labor as one of the aspects in the market environment. Organized labor can include labor federations like COSATU, NAMUSA, those unions, and employer organization who represent what? The organization. So the purpose of this organization is to level playing field and provide a balanced power. Employees and management can both take part and are on equal footing to negotiate and reach agreement on matters that concern all parties involved. So that's when we're talking about what? The unions. That's when we're talking about the unions, okay? Where we're saying business can maintain positive communication with unions to prevent strikes, resolve disputes peacefully. So here we are talking about where both parties are going to make sure that there is a peace, good relationship. So that is that. So now let us move on to a business control factors in the market. Business control factors in the market. So we know very well under market environment, we have said the business is what? Has a limited or partial control. So like it says, many of these elements in the market environment work independently, which makes it difficult for organization to exert control of influence. So it is important to interact with other organizational bodies with the same interest so that influence is more effective. So this can be achieved in the organization by formal positive relationship and agreements between unions and management. So there should be a very positive, very good relationship between the unions as well as the management. So joining organizations that provide a platform for those with common interest within an industry. This will ensure that alliance, cooperation, or common ground and good relations, for example, the Motor Manufacturers Association, that is SAMAR. joining organizations to protect industry interest and influence the government lawmaking bodies, for example, South African Revenue Service, SARS, and the Department of Trade and Industry competition. So that is that. So now let us move on to macro environment. Let us move on to macro environment. Unit 3. Environment. We talking about where we are saying these are large external forces. These are large external forces that affect all business. That affect all businesses. We cannot be controlled. But business can adapt to them. The business can adapt to them. So that is that. Like it says, the microenvironment is made up of the larger forces. Like I've said, these are large external forces and general conditions that take place on national or worldwide scale. It will influence an industry or business sometimes directly or other times indirectly. Business normally have no control over what happens but can try to adapt to the consequences. So the macro environment can sometimes be good for business if the opportunities are seen and used. And these opportunities can be what? Technological, can be technological. So with technological sector, we're talking about new technology and infrastructure. Here we're talking about new technology or infrastructure. So with this technology, we're saying we're talking about advancing technology can improve production. That is that. We are saying advance in technology. Technology can improve production. Can improve production and communication. And communication, but may require business to upgrade systems. They may require business to upgrade systems. As it says, the global village is very, very phenomenal when looking at the macro environment. The internet, satellite communication, the supply of electricity from renewable sources can all influence technological environment. So that is that. Also, we have social or cultural. Social or cultural. Social conditions include poverty, skill level, employment and unemployment levels, crime levels, and the effectiveness of law enforcement agencies. Cultural language difference can also affect the business environment. So if people now they are to face poverty because of they can't find jobs, or the skill levels find that they are illiterate and then they cannot find jobs because of the skills, that as well is going to affect the business environment. The employment as well can affect it positively and employment negatively. Also the crime level, like they said. Also we have political or governmental philosophy. political or governmental philosophy. Here we're talking about the political factor, government policies or political stability. So stable governments and supportive policies create a good business environment, while instability can disrupt operations. That is what we are trying to say. As we are saying, stable government, and supportive policies. Supportive policies create a good business. Create a good business. While instability can disrupt operations, can disrupt operations. So that is that. Like they are saying, the political stability and relationships of government in the international community, for instance, America can influence the macro conditions in other countries, regions, and the rest of the world. So that is that. Now we come to economic. We come to economic, climate, and local and international. So when we talk about the economic, we're talking about when people earn less, economic factor. When people earn less or unemployed, their buying power decreases, affecting the sales. As they say, the world economy can be influenced by things such as the oil price, the financial crisis of country, natural disasters such as drought in food production region. The economy of localized area of single country can also be affected by certain events. An organization of single country cannot control any of these factors. That is that. Now we come to legal environment. We come to legal environment. With legal environment now, we are talking about if there are new laws, the new laws are going to affect how business operate and treat employees or consumers. So as it says, following the rule of law means if stability, international pressure, and involvement in what it happens in the legal system influences the ability of business to trade fairly and afford risk. This can attract foreign investment, which will impact what the organization. For a business control, not business control, but you still have physical environment. So the physical environment is a pollution of infrastructure, roads, railways, electricity, and the availability of natural resources make the macro environment complex and make it easy to manage. So we know very well that with micro environment, like we've said, we have no control at all, but we can adapt to it. So business control factors in the micro environment. They say individual business have no control over the micro environment, like we've said. So we have information is important. Managers who are aware of the developments in the macro environments can sometimes minimize the consequences. That is that. Organizations can take charge. So this can be done by management doing the following. Take precautions to help cope with the possible negative impacts and problems of the business. For example, taking out insurance against natural disasters. That is the charge that they can take because they know very well that they can not control the natural disasters. But all they have to do to take such, that is where they can make sure that they take out insurance. So in the case that they are affected by these natural disasters, they know that they will be protected. Look for alternatives such as developing new markets. Look out for opportunities from developments in the macro environment, such as new technology becoming available. That is that. Now we come to ways to be involved. Ways to be involved in the macro environment. So the organization usually has a little effect on the macro environment. That is true. So some business are affected more than others, but generally everyone is affected to some degree. So the microenvironment, it affects us all, even though others can be more affected. So the individual organization is usually not important enough to influence the market or macroenvironments. Like we've said, that they don't have any control. So if there is to be some influence, the organization must be aware of its microenvironment and try to influence at the more immediate market environment. This can be done by planning within the business, which we are talking about what the micro environment, and creating relationship alliance with other market environment. That is that. So joining organization networking with influential bodies and government agencies will help to influence or control micro environment and some of the market environment. So organization can also mobilize the target market consumer base to apply influence and power. Think of TICS industry in our country and the power this group has. So that is that. This is the end of the presentation. Grade 11s, let's make use of this presentation for this term 1. So let us make sure that you go through it and understand it. So thank you very much for your time. Please share with others and let us make sure that you are going to hit the subscription button. Thank you.